good morning. I'm obviously traveling. Don't worry. I'm looking at the road, not at the camera. I know you can't tell. Now listen, my camera has rolled around twice, so it may or may not roll around again. I am off today to visit with my mom and some family who's in from out of town for a few more days, and my dad. I'm headed that direction now, so I thought it would be a good time. We've been so busy, just like preparing the garden, cleaning up the property, clearing out the property, that I haven't had time to make any sort of a video, but I continue to do my research and I continue to prepare for things. And so I know that a lot of times preparing or stocking up your pantry can seem rather overwhelming. So, especially with the things that we hear on the news. Now, you know, I don't follow mainstream media, but I'm going to say this. When they start talking about food shortages, you should listen. Not because they're truth tellers, but because that means that there really is some level of significance to what's being said. It's not just conspiracy theory or proper mindset. It is more serious when the President of the United States says there are coming food shortages. You should hear that, okay? So we all know that there's the war going on in Ukraine and Russia, which seems to be escalating and not de-escalating. I don't know exactly. They're not talking about it like they were. Very, very little information is coming out now. From the amount of time that I spend watching the news, which is very little. But before, when I would turn it on, it was like nonstop footage and conversation about it. So I've noticed that has decreased. If you have or have not, you can let me know. But I thought what I would do today as I travel into town is just talk about some easy ways to start prepping. Don't get overwhelmed. It doesn't have to be a bank account breaker or a stress maker. Literally, we've talked about multiple times just adding little things to your weekly grocery list or your monthly grocery list, or however you shop. Go to Costco if you have, or Sam's Club for bulk items. Now, bulk items can be more expensive, but if there are things that you're using infrequently and you can buy in bulk, you've got to rotate this stuff. So make sure it's stuff that your family is going to eat or that you're going to eat. And I think that we have to look at it a little bit differently than right now. A lot of us are trying to go more organic, certainly non-GMO. There's a lot of dieting going on, which is pretty consistent. I'm going to tell you this, go work on a farm. You'll drop some weight. It's been working for me. I've enjoyed it, that part of it. I digress. So let's start with a couple of just easy things. I'm going to try to get 10 out. And again, I don't have my list with me because I'm driving and I don't want to be distracted by paper or anything like that. So the number one thing I'm talking about food. Okay, I'm not talking about necessarily water. That should always be on your list. Number one. If you have a good supply of water, not on city water, or you've been stocking up for the last several months to a couple of years, great. But so I want to focus mainly on pantry items, things for long-term storage. So the first thing I'm going to start with is rice. Okay, I know we use a little bit of rice. We don't eat rice regularly, but in a situation where food was either not accessible or so costly that it limits you when you do go to the store, because that could come. I mean, the Great Depression happened and nobody saw it coming. I mean, the government kept saying, we're good, we're good, we're good, until we weren't. And so if you go back and watch some of the documentaries about the Great Depression, they really were being told that everything was fine. So people were better prepared in that time frame than they certainly are now, as far as having, basic food stuff there. Okay? So, rice is a forever food. It is. Not brown rice. It does not store well. It goes rancid. White rice, jasmine rice, things like that will store up well. And this is what I do, and you can do it however you want. I will buy several bags of rice, and that's gone up. Like, rice was something that you could go and get and, store up, and it was fine, but now it's definitely more expensive. So 10-pound bag of rice, throw it in your freezer for 72 hours. It will kill off anything that may be in there. And then, again, bring it to room temperature. You can store that in 5-gallon buckets. Gamma-lids are the big thing. I don't think you have to have them, but I'm hearing that they're easier to access. So if you do a big 5-gallon bucket and say a 50-pound bag of rice, you're gonna want some smaller portions to be more accessible. So you don't want to put everything into this bucket, because every time you open these buckets, you expose the things to oxygen, and oxygen is essentially what kills our food, basically. Okay, and it just introduces airflow. So you can buy oxygen absorbers, put them into your 5-gallon bucket, and just keep a bulk of rice there. And then when you do need to access it, I have a 1/2-gallon jar with a twist-on lid, glass jar that I will fill first, and then the rest of it will go into my long-term storage. So freezer, part of it into a glass jar. I don't use oxygen absorbers in that glass jar because we're using it in plenty of time. If you're going to use something within a year, you're pretty okay. Rice and beans and things like that. So just however many bags you can do, however many pounds you can do that. Once you freeze it in your freezer, it's killed off any like critters that could be in there. Sometimes you'll bring home, and it depends on where you buy from and how long things have been sitting. But there's some bugs in all of it, okay? So freeze it, kill off anything, and then put it in a glass jar with for storage. And if you do bulk, 5-gallon buckets. All right, rice is out of it. We're done. Make it be the rice that you want. And again, just know that brown rice will go rancid. It does not stay as long as white rice. That will last you 30 years, okay? If it's properly secured and preserved. The next thing I would say would be beans. We don't eat a lot of beans. But in a situation where I might not be able to get food, I'm going to eat rice and beans. Like, that's going to happen. And I'm not opposed to rice and beans. It's just not something that we eat a lot of. So you can buy also dry beans in bulk. You can buy canned beans, whatever works for you. Let's talk about the cans real quick of anything that you buy. There is a best if used by date. That is not an expiration date. If your food is properly stored in a temperature controlled environment, not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, it will last well beyond the sell by date, okay? The sell by date is basically talking about the nutritional value of the product. So the longer it sits, the less value it's going to have to it. All right. So now that that's out of the way, remember that the use by date is not the D-Day. Okay. Let's see. So beans, same thing with the beans. I do the exact same thing with my beans. I'll buy a bag, I'll throw them in the freezer 72 hours, bring them back out to room temperature. Sometimes I will put them in a jar, and sometimes I will leave them in the bag. I'll just bring everything back up to room temperature and put the bag into the pantry. It depends on, again, long-term storage. You're going to want to put it in a better situation. I just haven't done that yet, okay? That's my confession. All right, beans, pasta. Great food filler. Great accessory to go with your meal, or a meal in of itself with some butter and garlic. Yum. Some pasta sauce. Pick your favorite kinds of pasta. Whatever you eat, that's what you need to stock up on. I will say this, the other day I was at Walmart. The name brand pastas have gotten really high, in my opinion. But Great Value brand, the Walmart brand, still is selling 1 pound packages of spaghetti noodles for 94 cents. And the other pastas are under $2 that they carry and that they produce. I've just found that recently that Great Value brand of everything, or the store name brand, like even H-E-B, is significantly cheaper than the big name brands. So know that. So whatever kind of pasta that you prefer, pasta is a great in casseroles, and it's just a good filler. So you should have that on your list. That's 3. Number 4, I'm gonna say, is canned fruits and vegetables. And again, I'm not a huge fan of store canned vegetables. Fruits I kind of can do okay, but the vegetables just don't, without doctoring them up, they're just not good. So if you see some of those on sale, and again, Great Value brand, H-E-B, all that stuff is definitely less expensive than name brands. So fruits and veggies, that is 5. So counting those as 2 different categories. Canned meats. You gotta have some protein in your life, okay? Protein is what's gonna sustain your muscle mass, your energy levels, regulate your blood sugars, all the things that you're gonna need to be worried about nutritionally. So canned meats can be very good. Now I will home can chicken. And actually, we've home canned some beef, and used it, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, so I cold packed the beef, meaning I took it out of the freezer, I cut it up when it was thawed, and I put it into jars, and then I pressure canned it, and it creates its own juices. That's a cold pack. Cold jars, cold meat, cold canner, and then you heat it up to temperature. So I will say this, I don't do mine without flavor. I put something in mine, like salt or garlic, or not garlic. You can do garlic cloves. I use powdered garlic, not garlic salt, but garlic powder, onion powder. Those things will add some flavor into those juices. Salt really is just for flavor. That's it. It does nothing to do with the preservation. So if you wanted to can it with nothing, you can do that. If you want to add a little bit of beef broth to it, and I say a little bit because it's going to produce its own juices. You don't want to overflow your can or pop a seal because it bubbled up while you were processing it. So store-bought, if you're not ready to can on your own, totally fine. Make that something that you think about doing. But canners can be very expensive. They can be hard to find. And it doesn't take much to do them. It's actually very easy. However, it does take up your time because you're doing the work. So, buying canned meats, chili mixes, soups, chicken, beef, pork. What am I missing? You can buy canned fishes. I'm not a big fan of canned fishes. I don't put that on my shelf because I'm not going to eat it. And I say, in a very bad situation, would I eat some canned salmon? Yes. But I'm not going to open up a can of sardines. That's never going to be on my agenda. I would rather eat potted meat from a can than eat sardines. That's just me. We're all going to be preparing to our liking and to what works for our families, okay? We are not going to push the envelope and put things that we're not going to eat, and then you're wasting food. And yes, they have a long shelf life. Most canned meats have a 2 to 4 year shelf life. And again, the best if used by date is a guideline. It's going to taste best. It's going to have the best nutritional value. After time, things will start to break down and it'll lose its panache, if you will. So canned meats, tuna. I will eat canned tuna. I will say that. I have not canned my own tuna or fish, but I actually want to try it. Will I try it this year? I don't know. I have a lot on my agenda for this year. So, canned meats is number 6. Number 7 may look like fresh frozen. Maybe stock your freezers, clear some space to put some meats that you find on sale or even not on sale right now. Just a little bit at a time. Add, 1 package of something to your grocery week and throw that in the freezer. I will include that in the same because it is meat still. Let's see. Another thing, I think we were on 7. So number 8, I'm going to say purchase some seeds. Try to get a good quality seed. You don't have to go and spend $1 million on seeds. But on the things that you like to eat fresh, like lettuce, easy to grow. Broccoli, easy to grow. Carrots. I'm not going to tell you they're easy to grow because this is my first year to do them and it's not looking good. Let me just say that. But I may have waited too late. Things like that. So seeds are good for trade. They're good for food security. And they're good. They'll also have a best if used by date. Most seeds are good if kept in proper storage. Dark, cooler areas will continue to be viable. Now, you may not have the same germination rate on year 4 that you have on year 1, but then you would just double plant. So seeds is number 8. Number 9, canned milk. Why canned milk? Milk, number 1, is a source of protein. Number 2, you can use it in a lot of baking goods. If you're dairy-free, try to find yourself some almond milk, coconut milk in the cans that will go on your shelves and you can use them. And whatever your milk brand is. There are also powdered milks. There's buttermilk powder. There's heavy cream powder. Things that can go on your pantry shelf. Storing powdered milks and things like that. I've just started doing that myself. Like, I've had canned milks, but as far as my dry storage milks, really you would just treat it exactly the same way as you would any other dry good. I would put it in jars. Don't open it unless you need it, but you can add it to recipes for some extra nutritional value. In whatever recipe, making cream of chicken soups, making your own cream of mushroom soups. Any of those things, I'll go back to the canned goods a little bit. Just because there is a food shortage doesn't mean we need to be food fatigued. So this will be my number 10. I'm going to have to go back and listen. I may give you a bonus one because I'm not sure if I'm on 9 or 10. But number 10 is going to be spices, sauces, packages, ranch dressings, soup mixes, brown gravy mixes, taco seasoning, simple stuff that is easily stored but will change the taste of what you're eating, because food fatigue will be real. Will you care? I don't know. I don't care to find out. I want to eat my food flavored for as long as I can. So that is something that I stock up on. I try to have 2 to 3 jars of sauces that we like. So we eat things like Jamaican jerk sauce, soy sauce, let's see what else, barbecue sauces, ketchup, mustard. I try to keep 2 to 3 containers of that on my shelf at all times. If I use one, I'll buy 2 more. And then I share with my kids. So if I get an overload of things, I'm going to share it with family or friends. But I think the things that are going to last the longest are going to be your dry packages, salt. We're about to start doing some bulk ordering from a company called Azure Standard. But salt-wise, I have different salts. I have regular table salt, I have Himalayan pink salt, I have canning salt, so on and so forth. There is a company out there called Redmond's that sells salt, mined in I think it's Utah, in the United States. It is just raw salt. They're not adding all the iodines and the things like that, which means you can then use it for multiple purposes. And you can buy it in, I'm going to say, and I'm guessing, I know for sure 5-pound bags, but I think you can also order it in a larger size, like maybe 25 pounds. That's a lot of salt. But we are called to be the salt of the earth, which means we need flavor too. So going to a real whole salt, unprocessed, unrefined. Sorry, people are acting crazy on the road. I'm not sure what they're doing. Can't pass when there's people coming. So salt really isn't a category of its own, but any of those seasonings, flavorings, we need that in our life. So don't skip that stuff. They make shelf-stable, I'm going to go back to milk a little bit. They make shelf-stable milk in a carton. Now, it doesn't have as long of a life as, say, a can of milk, like evaporated milk or whatever. There is some Rebel canners, there are some Rebel canners out there that can milk, actual milk that you buy from the store. Now, might I do that in the future? I might, because I want to try it. I'm in the moment right now where I want to try things before I'm forced into something that I don't want or don't like. Does that make sense? So I want to know, if I canned up milk, are we going to drink it? Are my grandkids going to drink it? Can you put it on cereal? What is it like? I don't want to just assume that it's good, okay? And then I get into a crisis moment and it's the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. Do you know what I mean? Or in my gut. Maybe my guts can't handle it. So that is something that I'll be venturing off in, and hopefully will share with you. So I've given you about 11 things. Start stocking up on those things. Very small if you have to. I don't care if it's 2 cans of beans a week or a 6-pack of cans in a week. And I don't mean beer. If you want to stock up beer, please do that. We have trouble stocking up alcohol because we drink alcohol. So it is very difficult to keep a good stock. Now, I have stocks of alcohol that I don't drink on a regular basis, so I have it. But my faves, like whiskey, I have a very hard time keeping it. in storage for long term. Alcohol will never go bad. It is a 100-year product. Oh, I'm going to give you one more. Honey. Please go get you some honey. Raw, local honey. It is 100-year shelf life. Understand that it will not go bad. It will, and I know this has happened to some of you, solidify. All you have to do is put that in a pan of water, just the jar into a pan of water, and reheat it, and it will melt back down and be honey again. So that will last forever. Honey, maple syrup, any of those syrups, okay? Table syrup, like pancake syrup, will last you. So try to start buying. The cost of that stuff has increased. I could buy a pint jar of local honey from my county at the farmer's market a year ago for about $7. It's now $10.99 for a pint. So imagine you just keep getting bigger. Find yourself somebody who raises bees and get a thing set up with them. But there's your bonus. That's your big bonus, because we need sweet stuff too. I don't care what anybody says. You can sweeten bread that you make. Oh gosh, there's another one. So where are we at now? Like 12? Flour. Flour will last you a very long time. Whatever kind of flour you want, you should put up right now. And again, same thing. Freeze it for 72 hours, and then let it come back up to room temperature and store it in an airtight container for daily use. I'm gonna keep coming up with these things. Sugar. If you buy white sugar, just plain sugar off the shelf, you can make from that with molasses. You can make brown sugar, you can make powdered sugar. You never need to buy that stuff again, by the way. I don't care if you're prepping for final days, you don't need to buy those things anymore. If you have sugar and molasses and a blender, you can make your own stuff. So why give your money away right now? I mean, right now money's like has zero value. The harder you work, the less value it is. The American dollar is literally backed by your labor right now. There's nothing else backing it. So those are the things that I'm going to give you for now. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope that helps you.